It is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. We are back on baseball today. That is my man, T. Plouffe, sporting the sweatshirt with the Bill Belichick hoodie on top. I am Chris Rose. I'll be talking about what I am sporting. It is something special and near and dear to my heart. We'll cover that in a few minutes. First of all, we know today was supposed to be the day pitchers and catchers report because of the lockout. That is not happening, but we are still going to break down baseball because it's coming back at some point. We want to be the smiley face around there in your streaming world. We are going to break down the National League Central. That's right. Let's get the smiley heads going. Okay.
I mean, look, you started the show off like it's the day that pitchers and catchers are supposed to report. So that's kind of solemn and not happy, but We're going to turn it upside down, get that smile going. We both had a great weekend, by the way.
Yeah. Have you recovered from the post-game Super Bowl festivities?
Yesterday was tough. It was really tough for me. We kept our kids home from school. That helped a little bit. And then I have my Chinese food. That's my hungover meal all the time. Great. So today I'm feeling great. I'm going to get a workout in today, play some golf, all that good stuff.
Good. Yeah, I ran into your buddy Matthew Stafford down on the field when I was hosting the post-game show on NFL Network. When we were done with the interview with he and Cooper Kupp, I threw it out to Colleen Wolfe and Steve Smith Sr., so I had like 2 minutes. I said, hey, by the way, buddies with Trevor Plouffe. He's like, who? Plouffe lives in your neighborhood? No.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. So now he was actually like, hey, really good dude. I said, yeah, he's average. He's average.
Right. Good looking guy, but.
Yeah, exactly. So it was nice. I'm happy for him. Really fun Super Bowl to cover. But we are here to talk about a little baseball. And as I mentioned, we are breaking down the National League Central today. Brewers. Let's start right at the very top. They've made it to the postseason 4 straight years for the first time in franchise history. But does it feel like this might be the last go around with this particular Brew crew?
I can see how maybe people could think that, but if you really go and dive into the roster, no, it's not. Like they're set up for the foreseeable future because of their pitching. Now we talked about how their lack of offense quite a bit, but let's shine some light on the positives here. I mean, the rotation, the top end of the rotation is maybe some of the best in the league. They have guys that know how to shut down the game, high leverage situations. And those guys are all under team control for at least 2 more years, most of them 3 more years. So that is their calling card right now. That's going to be around for a while. They need to add the offense. I mean, and one way they can do that is to get Yelly back to doing, to being Christian Yelich. I saw him on Sunday night. He looks great. And if there's one thing I know about a guy like Yelich, he's one phrase away, one keyword, or even one like BP pitch away from getting that feeling back and dominating the sport like he once did. So that will be huge for them, but they still have to add around him. There's all these free agents out there. We've talked about Schwarber, some sort of left-handed bat going there. I think they need more than that. I think they need to go to a couple bats. They have the pitching to go out and do the thing. You got to add offense. But to answer your question, I do not believe this is the last go around for them, just because of the control they have over that pitching.
In fact, Burns and Woodruff will make a combined about $11 million this year. You would be hard pressed to find 2 guys at the top of the rotation that dominant who come at that price tag. Usually you're paying $11 million for about every month with a great starting pitcher. So, that's pretty special, and it gives him the financial flexibility to do some other things. Now, they did bring in Hunter Renfroe, who had a great year last year in Boston. Can he continue that? I think he can. That will definitely help. A lot of this is on Yelich. It really is, because now they're paying him like a superstar. Not even last year were they paying him like a superstar. Now they are. And so he has to get back to what he was in 2018 and 2019. And he knows that. We're not saying anything that he doesn't know. He's not sitting there going, really, guys? Like, I thought I had a good year. OPS in the 700s, 9 home. No, that's not what he is. He's got to be. Now, does he have to be a top 5 MVP candidate? Certainly help. But I wouldn't say, if I were an athlete, hey, I need to accomplish this. He just knows he has to be better, and significantly better at that.
And he will be better. He works hard. That's the kind of player you want to give this money to. They knew what they were getting when they signed Christian Yelich. And I understand he's had a few down years now, but they're banking on him getting back to where he was. Keston here is the same way. They need to get him going again. And again, they have the financial flexibility to go add premier bats. I would love to see them make a big splash. Typically, they don't do that. They kind of wait to the middle of the season and then go trade for guys. But we'll see. They have this core of pitching that they have, and they have the flexibility to go do a ton of things.
I know we talk about the flexibility, but where are you going to put somebody right now? I mean, unless you could listen, Urias had a good year for them last year.
You can move a lot of people. You can move a lot of people.
You could definitely trade some guys. There's no question.
Trade guys. I mean, look, if you need offense and you can get offense, you'll find a way to put them in the lineup. Whether that's at first base, whether that's at third base, they'll find places.
I think
the DH corners is coming.
Yep. I think the corners is definitely where you would start on that team. All right, let's move on to the St. Louis Cardinals, who had that ridiculous run last year where they won 17 in a row, and then they pushed the Dodgers all the way to the brink in the wild card game. But are we not so sure that the Cardinals aren't the best team in this division heading into 2022?
I mean, offensively and defensively, they clearly are. I don't think there's any doubt about it. If you go look at their lineup, like they have like 8 solid regulars, like above average, and you don't find that everywhere. Their lineup is deep. Their defense is good. They have top end pitching as well. It's not as good as the Brewers, but that bullpen's very scary. Then you have Flaherty and Wainwright at the top of your rotation. Hopefully Wainwright, retains who he is. I don't see why he wouldn't. I know he's getting up there in age, but he can still be that guy. He's shown that. So, I mean, look, yeah, I think those two teams are very close. This isn't like Brewers division. It's not Cardinals division. I think they're going to be locked at the top. But the Cardinals team, if you do go ahead and look at their roster, I mean, they have a very, very scary lineup, and the way they play defense along with it is going to keep them in ball games. This isn't like a super tough division. I mean, I think we're definitely going to be seeing both of those teams kind of like battling it out. And then unless the Brew Crew does something drastic and brings in offense, I think the Cardinals do end up on top of the division.
So I would say no right now. I would still go with the Brewers at this point, looking at the rosters the way they are. I do, the thing is, can 40-year-old Adam Wainwright duplicate what he did a year ago? Like, that would be nothing short of remarkable. Now, they're going to get substantially more from Jack Flaherty, who just wasn't at the top of his game because he was injured a year ago. So if he stays healthy and gets back to where he was before that, then that is a huge upgrade for them. To me, I'm focused on the bullpen. Giovanni Gallegos has been nothing short of sensational. Alex Reyes was great in the first half of the year and then fell off a cliff to the point where they just couldn't trust him down the stretch. So to me, as we were talking about Yelich kind of being the guy in Milwaukee that we're all focusing on, for me, it's Reyes. Can he get back to what he was? And if so, that gives them a dominant 1-2 punch at the back end.
Oh, I think their bullpen is excellent. I mean, you didn't even talk about Genesis Cabrera. You have Jordan Hicks coming back. Like these guys can be.
They have the potential to be really good back there.
They've potential, but they've also shown they can do it at the big league level. So like it's there. If I was to pick one team between these two right now, as the rosters are constructed today, I'm picking the Cardinals over the Brewers, even with that pitching.
All right, let's move on to the Cincinnati Reds, who definitely feel like they're in sell mode at this point. How worried are you that Cincinnati missed its shot at doing something special?
Pretty worried. I mean, if you look at their roster, like they still have some really good players. Obviously, India came, and that was a huge help for them. But in 2020, they kind of went all in. It seemed like, and and it just didn't happen for them. So they've been slowly selling off pieces. I mean, from what I've read, there's no talks about adding anything. We got rid of a bunch of guys, Castellanos, Tucker Barnard. These are big players that they're now not on their roster. There's more guys too. So yeah, I think I'm not really worried about it. We know they missed their shot at something special. I don't think this is a team that's going to be close to competing for the division. I mean, maybe they'll end up in third place, maybe fourth place. They're not at the level that the Brewers and the Cardinals are at. And I don't think they're trying to get there. And that's kind of the problem. If they were a team like, hey, this team could get aggressive, they're going to go get some guys, maybe we could still talk about them. But from everything that I've read and heard from people, that's just not what they're doing.
They're in a very dangerous situation here. And to me, there's several layers to it. You start with the idea that they traded Tucker Barnhart, and they love the kid in Stevenson that they've got behind the dish. I mean, I hear he's a stud. I've talked to several guys in that organization who are like, guy, listen, he's an awesome dude, and he's a fantastic player. The Barnhart, he had a price tag of about $8 million, and he went to a young team in a trade to Detroit, somebody who can help shape and mold that young pitching staff there. The problem is we know they're going to trade, if not both, Gray and Castillo. One of them's gone before the season. One of them's definitely gone. It wouldn't surprise me if they move off of Jesse Winker at some point because he's starting to get expensive, and there's nothing worse than having a really good player on a team that's not going to compete for a playoff spot, but could probably bring you some really good value in return. We know that he just feasts on right-handed pitching. The reason I say they're in a dangerous situation, who just played in the Super Bowl?
Who dey? The Bengals.
Who dey? That city has been taken over by Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. And when you're in a small market like that, where there's only so much disposable income, that everything shifts toward that football team right now. The Reds have had it forever because the Bengals have sucked.
Mm-hmm.
It's been the Reds town.
You're
and
right.
It's still, the heart and soul of it still might be Reds town because of the Big Red Machine and them winning it all in 1990. But it's been a while since they've had, a good playoff run.
You're totally right. I mean, I think about it in that perspective. Yeah, the Bengals are taking over and they're not going anywhere. They're young, they're talented. They have their quarterback. They have star players on the offensive side. So I get where you're coming from there. This is a choice though. Like they had all the pieces and then they just decided to get rid of them.
I'm with you, but that's
don't
the
understand.
philosophy. That's why we're having this work stopping.
Yeah.
Because there are certain teams that don't want to compete, and it's not fair to that fan base. It's not fair to those players in the locker room.
What happened in that short amount of time where they went for it and they got all these guys and they had this team and it didn't work out? They got into the playoffs, which didn't happen. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, we're gone.
I don't know. I have no idea. But I think we're both on the same page here. The margin of error is razor thin for this franchise right now. They got to.
I mean, it just seems to me like, yeah, they're gonna go in and they're gonna have some sort of rebuild. They're gonna trade away some guys, get some prospects, yada yada yada. I mean, I'd like to sit down with their front office and be like, tell me your plan. What's your plan?
I'm sure that'll happen sometime in the near future.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll
be very forthright. Do the Cubs feel like they're kind of caught in the middle, right? They gave Stroh a nice fat deal. Wade Miley, they picked up off of waivers from Cincinnati. Yan Gomes, they gave a multi-year deal to, but they feel really young at a lot of positions out there. So are they caught in the middle?
I feel like they have more of a plan than people are giving them credit for.
Okay.
They have some players there, and all the guys they brought in, they're not long, crazy financial commitments. Stroh's 3 years, and they've added some guys who I think they can flip if need be. Clint Frazier comes in. If he gets off to a hot start, they can keep him because he's not making anything, or they can trade him. Stroman is the same way. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily there for all 3 years. If they're seeing the writing on the wall, it's not going to happen for them. A team would definitely come and get a guy like Marcus Stroman and give up some prospects. Mm-hmm. I read some other things on them, some articles about the Cubs and how, they've been linked to Kiermaier and Hosmer. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're like, well, Hosmer hasn't played that well, and Kiermaier, maybe he can help our outfield defense for sure. But the way they're approaching it might be, we'll take on these guys' contracts, but we're going to get some prospects in return. So it's like this middle ground of where. So I guess, yeah, I'm answering my own question, your question right now. There's a middle ground there where, like, hey, if everything happens and Schwindel's maybe a guy and Patrick Wisdom can repeat and Happ does this and we get Kiermaier, we can put him in center, move Happ to the corners, like things can happen. But if it doesn't, I think there's a lot of guys that can trade and they can get some prospects, and maybe they won't tear it down the way they did in 2010 or whenever that was. Mm-hmm. And so that rebuild won't be as drastic. I don't think they're caught in the middle necessarily. I think they're seeing what happens and they're in a good position to go either way.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There is a plan there. I'm not so sure I agree with it, but I think there's a plan in place. To me, it's just jarring. If you had told Cubs fans 3 years ago, the following guys would not be on your team, not one of them: Schwarber, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, not one. You'd be like, what do you mean? Like, did they all quit playing baseball or something? Because it's not possible. Not one of them. Like, I could see either Bryant or Baez being gone, but not both of them. One of them would have gotten the bag from the Cubs. I think it's just jarring for them. Really, that's what I think it is. And I think that the organization's a little shaken. And I'm not so sure. I'll be curious to see with all the prospects they got back in these sort of trades, in 2 to 3 years, are we going to be pointing at guys and say, oh yeah, that's the guy they got in the Baez trade. That's the guy they got in the Bryant trade. Like, that's the only way they win. Because if not, then you feel like, Jesus, gave up everything for nothing.
I could see in 3 to 4 years, so we're like, hey, this is a really good Cubs team, and some of the young guys have been there for a few years. Now they got time under their belts. You know, we trade for Nick Madrigal. Now he's got 3 years service time. He's kind of like established himself. We have zero financial commitments long term, so we can go do what we need to do, depending on what free agent class looks good to them or what's appetizing for them. I think they're at the very least, they're in a position where they can pivot either way. And I think as a fan, you obviously hope they go for it. And in a couple of years, you're like, this is awesome. But you appreciate when there's a plan. And I think they do have one.
Well, head to the bottom of the division. Give Pirates fans that are watching or listening some hope.
You got some good players, some good young players there. You really do. If you look at their lineup, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Brian Reynolds, who can I name some more? O'Neal Cruz is on the way up. That's going to be an interesting one to watch and see how he performs.
I love him as a small forward. I really think his perimeter game has come along nicely.
It is tough to be a Pirates fan now. You have that beautiful stadium, and you're just not getting any winning ball clubs there. You kind of got spoiled when McCutchen was there.
It's more than tough to be a Pirates fan.
I know.
It sucks right now.
You told me to be optimistic, dude. Come on, I'm trying.
I did. Sorry.
You're caught in the bottom of a rebuild. You do have some good players though, and like as you should. If you have a lot of high draft picks and you're making some trades, whatever, you should have a lot of good young players. Are they going to show up at the big league level and be guys? That's yet to be seen. But yeah, I mean, this year is going to be tough. Next year is probably going to be tough. And
all right, here's
and at least it's a nice stadium.
It's a beautiful stadium. It is really. I think it's my favorite. I put Fenway and Wrigley in their own little area over there. You old guys hang out over there. It's my favorite of the new parks, right up there with San Francisco. And they're very similar to the way they're constructed, right on the water, beautiful views, interesting angles in the ballpark. But we're not here to talk about the ballpark because that's
great uniforms.
Great uniforms.
Cole Tucker.
Yes. I would say this. According to Keith Law, they have 6 of the top 100 prospects. Now, how many of those will you see in 2022? I'm not so sure. Man, they've got to do something here. They have to breathe some life. It just feels like they have been sprinting on a treadmill that they can't keep up with. They set the miles per hour too high. Like they've set it at 6.8, and I'm only a guy that can go 5.4, so I feel like I'm falling flat on my face every time I step onto that thing. They're good people there, and they need some hope. I don't know if we provided it or not.
Maybe. I mean, like the prospects are great. You know what we think about prospects.
Yep.
They're slap dicks until they're not.
Right. All right. Jonathan India. We mentioned him earlier of the Cincinnati Reds. He's a Florida guy, but he has now indoctrinated himself into Houday Nation. Mm-hmm. He went to Super Bowl 56. He went out there. He chronicled the whole thing on his Instagram. I love it when guys who aren't from a town but play for a team start rooting for other teams in town. I think it is the coolest thing going in sports. I love it. You can tell he's passionate about it. Is there one sporting event that you would like to go to that you haven't gone to?
Yeah, and it happened this weekend. That Waste Management Open looks incredible.
Wait, can we rename it to the Wasted Management Open?
Exactly. Yes. If I'm there, that's what they'll name it.
What? No. You would merely be a blip on the radar with that 16th hole.
And that happens every Super Bowl weekend, and next year it's in the Super Bowl's in Arizona.
Okay, so I have covered a Super Bowl in Arizona. We did when I was with the Best Damn Sports Show period. We did our show from a place called the Bird's Nest, it was then the Phoenix Open, so it's now the Waste Management Open. I was so drunk the whole week, dude. It is crazy how much partying goes on there. I was like, holy shit. You didn't have to leave. And you didn't have to go to any of the parties because the party was right there the entire time.
There was a lot of ball players there. I was getting a lot of stuff on my Instagram feed from, it was the whole 16 and just everyone going nuts. And it definitely seems like that shouldn't be the only golf tournament that is like that.
I know
that. And I know golf is a little hoity-toity. Like you always call me hoity-toity, but golf is like really hoity-toity. And maybe they should loosen it up. And this is a prime example. Like I think I follow a few golf creators now, and I
Oh,
think golf is moving that way. I think they are understanding like, hey, we can do both. We can have the old school country club crap, but now look what we have. We can make it palatable for young people. Golf really took a big step forward during COVID and the pandemic. A lot of people, that was the only thing they could do. Like all the
right.
country clubs around here are full now. Everyone's playing. But I think they need to look at that tournament and be like, let's try to run this back. Let's do one in Florida. Let's do one in New York, whatever.
That's the thing. You don't want to do it too much because then if it becomes every week, then it kind of loses its charm,
Sure.
if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, once a month at a place, I'm all for, man. I'm all
It seems like the
for.
golfers like it too.
Yeah. For me, I have had the good fortune of covering a lot of wonderful events. Like I just covered my 16th Super Bowl. I've been to, I think, 15 World Series or something. One thing I've never done, I've never been, and I'm not a huge fan of the program or anything. I've never been to a Notre Dame game in South Bend. And I have heard it's an amazing experience. I really want to go.
Let's go. Let's go to SC Notre Dame game. We'll go see touchdown Jesus.
Yeah, I'm in. I've been told by countless guys, Rodney Pete used to be with me on Bet Stam, and he of course was a legendary USC quarterback in the 80s. And he was like, I loved walking out of that tunnel. I'm in. It's so different. I've been told by a ton of guys who have played road games there. They're like, yeah, it's just different. Go.
It's awesome.
So I'd like to go at some point.
Okay.
What do you have coming up on John Boy Media?
Jimmy and I filmed Talking Baseball yesterday. We kind of talked about the latest, MLB proposal. We talked a little about my Super Bowl experience. So that's a good one. And then tomorrow got Talking Baseball going again. And we're going to do some sort of fun stuff, just like how we did today. Like we're sick of talking about labor.
Is Jake back tomorrow?
I believe he should be back tomorrow because he was recording this morning on Wake and Jake. I made a guest appearance on that as well. So
nice.
We're trying to bring the smiles back, dude.
I'm with you. That's why we're breaking down divisions here. Baseball, everybody, all my football friends are like, is baseball ever coming back? I was like, nah, they've just packed it up. They've started knocking down stadiums. I said, of course it's coming back. And that's why we want to give you this energy. We want to get people ready for the season. You may have forgotten some of the moves that are made. That's what we want to do here. As far as the Rose rotation, Zach Plesac, who I think every day is 420 for him, perhaps, is on the rotation. Gave some really good stories, fun stuff. We relive his high school football days where he was a real stud. He wanted to play both football and baseball at Ball State. Didn't quite happen, but he felt like he could have done it. Really, really good athlete. So that's fun. That's out there. And I am wearing something special today that I would like to promote. Our friend in the baseball world, her name is Emily Walden. She has primarily covered minor league baseball over the years and focuses a lot on the Detroit Tigers system. She is fighting the good fight against breast cancer. And we all love her. We respect the hell out of her work and her passion and her drive. And we know that is what's going to get her through this. There are really for anybody who has had to deal with cancer in their family or amongst really good friends knows that there are a ton of challenges. And I think probably at the top of that list is knowing that you're not alone. And Emily, we love you. You are not alone. I am so proud of Pitching Ninja and I believe RotoWare that put out these shirts, and you can go get one still. And all the money that is raised will help Emily in her fight. And so we just want to show our support and send our good thoughts and our love. And if you can afford any bit and go pick up a t-shirt and show your support, go do it.
Yeah. Shout out to Emily. I mean, from what I've seen, she's got to know the entire baseball community is behind her. Obviously we are. I follow her. I've followed her for quite some time. She's excellent in her job. And coming from a family that does have some breast cancer past, you're totally right. The support is 100% needed. And Emily, we're always here for you. Everybody, our audience, and Chris and I personally as well. So
absolutely.
Shout it out.
Yep. We are one huge family here and we love you. And we are here with you every step of the way. And we will be with you next time as well on Baseball Today on Thursday. I believe we'll be breaking down the National League West unless in the next 48 hours, there's some huge shakeup in the lockout. No. Okay. I'm trying.
No,
I'm trying.
There isn't.
No, I'm trying. Okay. All right. For our producer extraordinaire, Dan Rourke, who just spent his paycheck on a brand new haircut, and my man T. Plouffe, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you next time here on Baseball Today, a presentation of John Boy Media.